Live from the 607, it's the Ocho Duro Parlay Hour, where we're talking everything movies, TV, comics, and entertainment. Join in the conversation on social media with the hashtag ODPH, because here we go. Welcome to an all-new edition of the ODPH podcast. What is happening, everybody? Thank you so much for joining us this week. My name is Ken M. Joining me in studio, as always, you know him. He's the co-host. He's the newlywed. His name is Padawan J.
Gonna do you all a favor. If you haven't heard it yet, you should look up the song "Get Low" by Z-Pain and T-Pain. You'll thank me later.
This is true. We were playing it behind the scenes here and definitely got the party started because we have a lot to talk about in the land of movies, TV, comics, and more. You are tuned in to the entertainment edition of the ODPH, and we definitely like keeping those conversations rolling after the show. Pad, where does everybody go?
ODPHpodcast.com.
Right on. Swing on over there. Social media accounts are updated. Shout out to everybody following us now on Threads and Blue Sky. It's amazing getting those conversations going with a whole new audience. So we're truly grateful for that. And if you're not following us there, make sure to do it because we're going to be spending a lot of time there and compared to our former home base of operations, if you will. So we'll just kind of leave it at that. So you want to make sure you're following there. Also, it's the holiday season, and what better gift can you give somebody than some ODPH swag? T-Public Store has always got something going on, so you definitely want to swing on over there because it's a great holiday gift for you and yours for the holiday season. What else can I say about that? Also, at the website, check out the blogs. New reviews dropping left and right. The Classifieds, which has friends of the show, such as 3FM Podcast, Dragon Master Games, Nerd Initiative. Wish I could talk about a lot of stuff going on there, but I can't just yet. But if you want to find out what's going on in the home and pop culture positivity, boom, there it is. Also, we have a directory. Pat, how many providers are we on?
227,703.
I don't question him, folks. That is why he is the statistician to the stars. And his source?
Just trust me, bro.
Exactly. So wherever you're listening to us on, make sure to drop us a review on your favorite podcatcher. It definitely helps the algorithm of the show. Last but certainly not least, we have a fantastic music section where you can find out about such great bands as Brian Wolf and the Howlers, Second Suitor, Tom Jolu, Floodlands, Shadow of the Robots, all amazing people that donate their music to us to play here on the show, royalty-free. So it definitely means the world to go support them because they're amazing. And for anything else that I might have forgotten, because let's face it, we have a lot of stuff going on, ODPHpodcast.com is the home of what is going on with this podcast. And also, if you're on social media, use the hashtag ODPHpod. But you came to hear some entertainment talk, and there's one show that definitely has everybody talking. Surprisingly, considering the early reviews of the show are not so flattering.
Yeah.
And it draws the question, what did you watch?
Yeah, were we seeing the same thing?
Because a show has broken out from a movie from 2022 and has really captured the dark, gritty feel of Gotham City and translated into a solo series that has definitely captivated audiences. And the dark, gritty feel is over, though, unfortunately, for now, because we are going to deep dive into what, Pad?
That is season 1 of The Penguin.
Yes, the season finale, and note how we're using that word season, has just wrapped up. There is a lot to discuss about the Colin Farrell-led project where he reprised the role as Oswald Cobblepot, a.k.a. Oz Cobb, which I'm still getting used to saying. Kristen Milioti, who plays Sophia Falcone, and then Sophia Gigante, absolutely stole this series. Rensley Felice as Victor Alligar really stepped into the role and made this into something. And between the three of them, they really took this story into a lot of places, had a great supporting cast with them, with Deidre O'Connell playing Frances Cobb, Oz's mother, who is unfortunately suffering from dementia at the stage, and then also a rival crime boss in Clancy Brown playing Salvatore Maroni. There is a lot to break down in this season because of the whole crime war that has raged on and now come to a bittersweet end. So what we're going to be doing, if you're new to the show, first and foremost, thank you for checking us out. We like to give a spoiler-free statement of what we're going to be talking about, so we don't ruin anything for you. However, after that statement is done, we give you a countdown. You have to make a choice. Do you jump out because you don't want to have anything ruined, or do you stay and hear the spoiler talk because we don't hold anything back? Pad puts the jump point in the liner notes, so you have to make that choice. So just download the episode and listen at your leisure because we do not like to hold anything back when we get into spoiler talk. And there's a lot to get into about this. So, Pad, that being said, give me your spoiler-free statement on HBO's The Penguin, Episode 8, entitled A Great or Little Thing.
Real quick before I give you my review or spoiler-free statement, I do have some numbers for us, courtesy of HBO by way of Variety. And a reading from an article on Variety.com, it says, quote, per HBO, the final episode of the Batman spinoff series pulled in 2.1 million viewers across all platforms, marking yet another series high for viewership. Sunday's viewership figure is up approximately 50% from episode 1 of the series. The first episode has now pulled in nearly 17 million viewers since it debuted on September 19th. The show remains the most watched current HBO or Max title debut season globally, behind only House of the Dragon and The Last of Us.
Yeah, I was going to say that.
So, monster numbers, everyone's tuning in. If you haven't started it, you absolutely should.
Well, the whole thing about this show is it has won people over by word of mouth.
Yes.
Because, let's face it, there were bad reviews for this show for whatever reason.
Well, and in some instances, like some folks you and I know, I was talking to them about it the other day because it just came up in casual conversation, and they hadn't asked me what I thought about it, and the person I was speaking to hadn't heard anything about it. Like they knew it was a thing, they knew it was out, but they hadn't heard anybody's opinion outside of yours, good, bad, or otherwise.
Well, the one thing about this show is when it came out, it really didn't have a blockbuster push like in social media.
Yeah.
I mean, it was pushed, it was advertised very well.
Yeah.
However, there is a skeptical feeling from the pop culture audience.
Sure.
And we've talked this at length on different shows that come across when it's referencing geek culture,
sure,
or however you want to define the comic book adaptations.
Sure.
There is a certain divide between the casual fans that tune in because they hear it's popular,
sure,
and then the ones that are always watching these shows because these are the stories we read every Wednesday when we go to the comic shop.
Sure.
So when this came out, the fact Batman wasn't going to be in it,
right?
I think some of that audience, that pop culture audience, was very skeptical to get started.
It's a hard sell because, yes, Penguin is a known villain. I don't know if I'd say he's the most known villain in that universe, but he's certainly in the top 10, maybe top 5. And if you've seen the Batman Returns, you've seen the animated series, any one of the other various adaptations, over the direct-to-video series they've done or anything else, like who he is. Like if you see Danny DeVito in the outfit, even if you've seen the movie once, you'll go, oh, that's Penguin. You'll know who he is. So for you and I, who are comic book fans, and we try to consume as much as we can, we're down for this. But for the casuals, the ones who are like, okay, like my wife or my sister or somebody else in your immediate family, it might be a harder sell. If Pattinson were there and it's going to be like, oh yeah, we're going to do, or even if there was like a Bat family involved with this, like, oh, Batman's not going to be there, but we're going to have Nightwing and we're going to have Robin and they're going to be fighting Joker, whatever. Like that'd be an easier sell for the casuals. But the fact that it's like, hey, it's a crime-focused drama, Batman's not going to show up, Alfred's not going to show up. I don't even think we ever saw Gordon in this series at all. And it's just going to be strictly the crime families and Penguin. It's a hard sell for the casuals. It's a deep cut for comic book fans and longtime fans of the universe, in that you're going into that like crime stuff that's really fun to read. But for casuals, it's a harder sell.
See, I don't know if it's that much of a deep cut because in recent years, this is the Penguin we've seen in the comics.
Oh, sure.
So, I mean, I do see your point, though. It is a little more of a deep cut because we only know Colin Farrell's Penguin from that time he was in Matt Reeves' 2022 film, The Batman.
Sure.
We didn't get a lot fleshed out about him, but casual fans know who the Penguin is because, let's face it, ever since Batman 66, he has crossed over into the pop culture universe.
This is true.
So there is an idea. But when we heard it was going to be a solo series focused on him, it didn't really catch the audience.
Right.
Like, this wasn't a situation fans were screaming they wanted a show. So you have to win over the audience. And I think what this show really did is it exposed who Oswald Cobblepot is. And much in the same vein as a Tony Soprano.
Oh, yeah.
there's certain aspects you fall in love with, and there's certain ones that you realize he's not a nice person at all.
Tony Soprano walked so Oswald Cobblepot could, hobble.
I mean, to be honest, because when you can do a story that the characters are not good or evil, there's a lot of gray.
Mm-hmm.
It does give the audience much more to sink their teeth into, at least in my opinion.
Yeah.
Because you have to decide where you align with. Like, do you want to see this character succeed or fail?
Right.
Because of reasons. So when we heard about the show coming out, yeah, I mean, I think a lot of fans were just kind of like, well, let's wait and see how this goes.
Well, yeah, and especially because everything else that was tied in with it, that it was going to lead to the Arkham series, and it was going to lead into this other stuff, and then that got pulled back, and then it was just Penguin, and we're like, all right, this sounds like it's kind of a mess.
Oh, it sounds like The Flash.
Yeah.
Like, let's be honest about it.
Yeah.
When it sounds like a mess, some things just really turn off the audience. I think, though, once this show got rolling, it was really stolen by those 3 actors I mentioned early in this series. And then, obviously, getting supported when they had time to share was the other 2 that I was saying. Because this show is really centered around Farrell's Oswald, Feliz's Victor, and Melante's Sophia. Like, that's been the trifecta for this show to work.
Mm-hmm.
And each time, these characters brought out the best of who they were working with.
Right.
So that's how this show won everybody over. So by the time we get to this finale, everything is raised to a fever pitch. And you're waiting to see what happens. And then when this finally unfolds, it went into a lot of directions.
Yeah, it did.
One, I will say, to take a quick victory lap, did I or did I not call?
Yeah, you did.
So, which I was happy to see, because at the end of the day, it reinforced the feel of the character, because that is how that character is. And you can't, I don't want to say dumb it down for the audience,
right?
But you have to stay true to the source material to really win it over, and that's what they did with this.
Yeah, the episode, to get back to your original question, the episode was incredible. You know, the episode was everything I could have expected and then some. You know, it wasn't exactly, the bombastic, holy, what, for a cliffhanger ending that I might have expected, but it still worked. And it was in the same vein as the rest of the season. It was crazy. It was tense. I sat up and said, wait, what? At a couple of points during this episode. And it was phenomenal writing, phenomenal directing, phenomenal cinematography. Everything about this was incredible.
Everything about this was a win.
Yeah.
Everything about this was a win. Even with the parting shot, which there's a lot to discuss with that, but powerful performances. I don't doubt Emmy nominations are coming for
easily
at least 2 actors from
the show. You can make
an
argument for 3.
You could definitely make an argument for 3. I think they get at least 2.
I'm not saying wins, at least nominations.
Yeah, no, I think there's at least 2 nominations coming for this, if not more. But there's so much to break down with this. We have to get into spoiler talk. Pad, you got the time set?
Yep.
All right, let's do this in 3, 2, 1. Pad, let's talk about it.
Like I said, the episode was incredible. The episode was phenomenal. It was everything I could have expected. It's got me... I was already over the moon excited for The Batman Part 2 or The Batman 2 or whatever the heck they end up calling that movie. But now I'm over the moon excited, and then given the prospects of potentially a season 2, if it happens for this show, we'll get to that in a little bit. It's got me even more excited for this. My head was spinning for a good while after the episode finished airing with the potential and what it could mean for not just, the next movie, but like the future of this entire universe.
This film accomplished something that is very difficult to do. When you spin out of such a fantastic movie as 2022's The Batman by Matt Reeves, there's a lot of expectations from the fan base that really wants to see the magic recaptured. And either you pull it off or you don't.
Right.
And that's such a tough line to walk.
Well, and especially, too, like, if you build things up so high and so much and to a point where, like, expectations are as equally high, if not higher, sometimes they're not met. High lost, you're one of them.
But in this situation, Colin Farrell tapped back into what makes Oswald Cobblepot such a captivating character.
Mm-hmm.
Oswald is not a good guy.
Nope.
He is one that is charming in certain aspects, but at the end of the day is a sociopath.
Yeah.
And one that is not afraid to hurt anyone or anything in his path.
Yeah.
He's not above
No.
crossing lines that you would not think of. And that is what makes him one of the most dangerous villains in all of the Batverse.
Yeah.
And even in comics when he's done right, because we've seen the more, in my opinion, campy versions.
Yeah.
In the past, which, I mean, listen, it is what it is at that time.
Yeah.
But I think as you've seen him portrayed as the ruthless gangster, that's where he really shines. And I mean, even most recently in the comics, Tom King and Rafael de la Torre's Penguin series, I thought really nailed that character. And that's the essence you saw in the show. That Oswald is just somebody that literally embraces this world and wants to do anything to be on top because he feels he deserves it. And what we got here was the true metamorphosis into the Penguin.
Yep.
And this one really, really drove the point home. And I think for anybody that was on the fence, if he was really a good guy or not, one of the final scenes, I think, solidified that he is an absolute psychopath.
He's an absolutely twisted individual, and I feel I'm not alone in saying made my skin crawl.
He did, but that's what makes him work.
Oh, yeah.
And that's why I think I loved how this was setting up. And this is what needed to happen.
Yeah.
Because if you make him the anti-hero, and I hate saying that, you miss the character. He's not somebody you root for. He's somebody that, like, you can see the point and you go, okay. And how he's manipulated Gotham right now, it's going to be interesting to see when we see him come back. Because there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
But where this episode jumps in is in the aftermath of Sophia blowing up Oz's base of operations.
At least a city block, if not more. It's a big crater.
Crown Point is destroyed at this situation.
Yep.
Oz is in the sewer system hiding, and is one that, I mean, talk about a weird coincidence.
Yeah.
It's the same tunnel that he killed his brothers in.
Yeah.
So he is surviving. Vic shows up with the coalition, I guess you could say,
For lack of a better term, yeah.
of the rival gang members that want to take out Sophia and Salvador's crime family. And they show up, and Vic is trying to rally him, and he's one voice.
Because they don't know 100% what happened. They know there was an explosion. They know, or at least they figure Oz was there, and they're like, we got to go find and see if he's okay.
Yeah.
But they get near, and they get maybe within like a couple blocks of Ground Zero. I don't think they get right up to Ground Zero where the bomb went off. But they get close enough, and then they see the police presence, and given their notoriety, they're like, yeah, we're not feeling this so much.
Yeah. So they wind up leaving. Vic is on his own.
Yep.
Meanwhile, we know that Dr. Julian Rush, played by the one and only Theo Rossi, who did a phenomenal job in his time, was not on the show that much, but he nailed his points he needed to, has now been working on Oz's mom to unlock his history, to get some information on him. And they wind up unlocking the secret about Oz killing his brothers.
Yep.
And the biggest revelation here is Frances admits she knew about it.
Yep.
And she tried doing something that, Pat, when you saw this scenario set up, what was your reaction?
A little shocked, to be honest, because, the entire perspective we've seen of this relationship between Oz and his mother has been in one way loving, the son to the mother, and the other way, I feel like on some level the mother loved him, and at least from the way in the scenes we saw. And then, but also in a way that, like, clearly something was off, clearly something was amiss, because she wasn't exactly the doting mother that was like, oh, here, I baked you a dozen chocolate chip cookies because I felt like it. She wasn't the mother that's like, hey, you did really good. You did a really good job today. Let's go get a milkshake.
Yeah.
She didn't exactly feel that way to me. So I could tell there's something more going on here, but I wasn't expecting this.
No, it was definitely one of the more intense moments because you see that she is trying to hire Rex, the local mob gangster that Oz has looked up to since he was a child, to kill him.
Yep, and at one point he even calls him the devil.
Yeah.
Him being Oz.
Oh, yeah. And it comes across there, and we have to give a shout-out to probably one of the most unsung actors on this show, and that is Ryder Allen.
Yeah.
Who played young Oz.
Kid is wise beyond his years.
Oh, my God. That kid's got a big future.
Uh-huh.
He's got a big future
Bookmark
in Hollywood.
the IMDb page.
Yeah, seriously. If he gets nominated, I would not be upset about that.
No, I wouldn't either.
I think it's well-deserved. He comes in there, and he's doing the acting with his mom, and obviously he's portraying, two sides. One, the vindictive brother that killed his family, and two, the son wanting to be loved by his mother at all costs.
Yeah.
And playing off Francis there, and like I said, their chemistry about this was amazing.
Yeah.
Like I say, you really had that point. But Sophia, after she tries doing it, she can't bring herself to.
Uh-huh.
So we snap back to reality, and in the same club that Francis and Oz danced in when they were young to, basically have Francis manipulate Oz to say, I deserve the life. You need to give me my life I want.
Mm-hmm.
They're now back there, and Sophia has Oz captured.
Mm-hmm.
And is now having this very uncomfortable moment where he has to confess to his mom about what happened.
Yeah, it's basically like, hey, listen, everyone here in the room knows it. You just need to admit it to yourself.
Yeah. So when this plays out, Oz is defiant to the end and refuses to believe it.
I don't think it's he refuses to believe it. I think it's he's built it up in his mind for so long, and he's told himself a lie.
That's where I'm going with, yeah.
He's told himself a lie for so long that he wasn't guilty for their deaths, that's what his conscience genuinely believes.
Yeah. No, that's what I say. He built it up that he just is defiant in saying it.
Because it's not even like because Colin Farrell's an incredible actor.
Oh, yeah.
All things considered. But if there was even an instance that, like, okay, Oz was lying through his teeth in a vain attempt to hide his mother, there was nothing that came across his face that's like, kind of giving off the vibe that like, oh, I'm just lying to save my mother. No, the look on his face was he genuinely thought he had nothing to do with the deaths of his brother.
Mm. He thinks he's above reproach.
Yeah.
That's the one thing about him, that he just cannot sit there idly and accept that he did something wrong.
Yeah.
We've seen this through his entire series. He's somebody that he's questioned if you even find fault, even if you're joking with him.
Yeah.
He does not handle it well. And this is something he does in the comics right to the T. So I loved how they set this up, but due to his defiance about admitting to it, this causes Rush to keep putting pressure on Francis, and the result is she suffers a stroke.
Yeah, and at one point during the torture, takes a device, I don't even know what this thing was called, threatens to cut her finger off.
Oh, yeah.
And even gets so far as to like actually start to imprint and cuts into the skin a little bit. Doesn't cut through the bones and sinew and whatever else, but gets enough to puncture the skin.
Yeah.
And she starts screaming at him, stop lying, tell the truth. And she finally said, because I think she's still playing the part of the mother and still like wants to give her kid the benefit of the doubt. And like, every parent has done this. Like, I want the kid to admit they did something wrong without me saying it outright, or whatever that is. Because she finally snaps and goes, listen, I know you did it. Just admit it.
Yeah. So once this happens, she collapses. And like I said, I thought she hit her head off the floor.
So did I. Yeah, because there was a lot of debris in the ground.
Yeah, so there was a lot of stuff because obviously the building is run down, the club that they were in.
Yeah.
So Oz, in a fit of rage, snaps out of his restraints and starts killing everybody around to escape. And he does take his mom with him. But at this point, too, he is just distraught about what's going on because he knows now he's a marked man.
Yep.
There's no escape of what's going on with Sophia. He did not kill her on the way out the door. However, though, talk about cinematography. Outside of the club, there was a gentleman taking eye drops.
Okay.
And then during that moment, you just see the camera splatter in blood when Oz shoots him from behind.
Oh, I didn't even catch that.
Oh yeah, no, it's a cool moment. I was like, whoa, like for camera purposes, as he's making the escape to his car. So when they reconnect with Vic, they take Francis to the hospital.
Yep.
And they have to get on the move because obviously there's things happening.
Mm-hmm.
And you see during this point too, Oz makes a play, and he almost knows like it's its final move.
Uh-huh.
And it's one that, watching it go, I was like, okay, he either thinks he can win this still,
Yeah,
or he's going to do everything to take out Sophia before he gets taken out himself.
what I feel like he's doing in this moment is much like Jaden Daniels, to borrow from sports, did a couple weeks ago in the NFL, where it's like, okay, end of the game, you got one more play left on the field, and it's a Hail Mary, and whether it works or not is to be determined.
Mm-hmm. He winds up going back to Gotham City Hall and runs into a certain councilman that has been helping him a little bit along the way because, Oz has got blackmail on him. And we do see that they have a very, very unique partnership forming, so to speak, because Oz throws him quite the proposition.
He doesn't throw him a bone. He throws him a whole goddamn bag of treats.
Oz, in this moment, throws Councilman Sebastian Haiti, who's played by Reese Corio, Sophia on a platter.
Yeah, he starts telling him everything that Oz is aware of.
Yep, you want to know about the Maronis. You want to find evidence of a drug ring.
Yeah.
I got it down here with her car. You could run the plates and run everything. You can take down Sophia and the family.
And all of it is staged in such a way and told in such a way that he is guiltless. He is just the simple, honest Gotham citizen doing his civic duty and informing the powers that be of some ne'er-do-wells doing some crime in their city. And when you look at it, what he tells them, factually true. When he tells them where to find this evidence, factually true. Now, is it possible if they went really deep diving and dusted for fingerprints, could they find some of his fingerprints there? Yeah, sure. There'd probably be a few. But given what's happened and given what's there, they're going to look at this and go, yep, this is an open and shut case. No need to investigate further.
Yeah, because this is such a score. They're willing to look past everything. I mean, Gotham is always corrupt as can be.
But there's one little hitch to this that we'll get to in a little bit.
So Haiti takes him up on it. And Haiti is like,
and Haiti initially is like, come on, what am I supposed to do with this? How can I trust you? Because again, Oz's reputation precedes him.
Yeah,
and it's the thing we've seen throughout this entire show. Everyone knows how corrupt people are. Everyone knows how seedy and dirty people are. And involved with crime they are. It's like the worst kept secret that everyone knows Oz is involved in the criminal world.
Yep.
So how can I trust you? And Oz basically presents it to him. He's like, hey, think of how much it could do for your career if you're the guy who took down 2 crime families.
Yeah. And right there's the selling point.
And he and the guy doesn't even say anything. He just goes, oh, yeah, you're right.
Well, that's the whole thing. He knows that he's got him. And so Oz makes the play to escape. But when he goes out to his car, Vic is not there.
Correct.
Vic was tipped off.
Right.
By Link.
Yes, I think that was his name.
Who is one of the young gangsters of one of the families that says, well, there's something that happened along the way that you don't know about.
Yep.
And that is Sophia has now put a bounty out on Oz.
Right, and this is after the rest of the crime families or mafia business, whoever it is, have abandoned Oz because they're like, yeah, you got nothing.
Yeah, it's the coalition there.
The coalition has abandoned Oz. They go to Sophia, and Sophia offers them up. She's like, listen, I'm leaving Gotham. I'm going to give you guys everything. I'm going to give somebody everything. And the one of the henchmen who it was that moment of where the guy's boss was like, what the fuck are you doing? Shut up. You're talking too much. You're just a simple henchman. But the henchman goes, how can we believe you? Like, what, why? And she's just like, listen, I've got nothing here for me. I got nothing left. I want to basically turn a new page and go someplace else. But she goes, there's a catch. I'm not going to just give it to you willy-nilly. I'm going to give this house and all that comes with it for as long as you can hold it, to whoever brings me Oswald Cobblepot alive.
Yeah. So the bounty has been thrown down.
It's a hell of a bounty, too.
So Oz comes out there.
Yep.
Doesn't see Vic, but he is taken away.
Yep.
Because there is people there waiting. And this is where things are finally building to the apex that we've been waiting on.
Yep.
Sophia burns down the family home.
And a brilliant scene.
Oh, yeah. This was fantastic because she's just letting loose.
She just doesn't care anymore.
Well, I mean, I think at this point, she knows that her window is short now, too.
Oh, the window's very small.
So if she wants to leave and start a new life, she has to cut ties here. She has to eliminate anything that will connect her one way or another. So she is ready to take off, and this is her way of starting her life over. And they drive to the airport, and on her private plane, she's getting ready to go, but Oz is there, and he's being held at gunpoint.
Right, because the former crime syndicate, former coalition have brought him there.
Mm-hmm. So when they go, well, this is where things go awry. Because all of a sudden, you see Vic and Link have gotten through to some of the other members, and they wind up killing the people that took Oz.
And I don't know if this was an official, like, Easter egg connection. In my head, it is. In my head, this was a tie-in to one of the most classic Batman animated series episodes, Almost Got Him, where it's all the villains: Joker, Penguin, Two-Face, Ivy, and Croc, talking about how they almost got Batman. And in this instance, she almost got him.
She almost did.
And she almost got away with it, which I think was a brilliant setup and a brilliant way to do this, because they could have done this in a warehouse. They could have done this back at the jazz club or whatever it was. But no, they did it outside of the hangar of this airport with the plane waiting. I think the engines were even revving at one point when the scene started. She's literally feet away from getting away with it and getting away with everything and getting away with millions. Because, well, the house she promised them is up in flames. And the fire trucks were not coming when she was leaving.
Yeah.
So the house is going to be burned to the ground. Whatever's left of the city is going to be negligible at best. So she would have gotten away with everything.
Oh, yeah. She was, I mean, that was the whole point. There's no honor amongst thieves here.
This is true.
So that's something that they know. But especially for Link and the other young members of these crime families, they bought into what Oz was selling. And that is something that I don't think people realize.
Well, and I like how he set this up in the episode, was that like, hey, listen, you guys are so busy with what you were doing, you didn't think of the little people. And the little people are what matter.
Yep. Because all during this time, you see a bunch of the young guard take out the old guard. And this is Oz's formation of his crime family.
Yep.
So he winds up taking Sophia away, driving her like he used to back in the day. And they wind up going out to buy a bridge.
Yep.
With a great view. And Oz tells her to walk, and basically is taking her to the train station, as they say on Yellowstone. So they do line up, and I love how the camera worked here.
Oh, I do too.
We get an extreme close-up of Sophia.
Yep.
And she's waiting for Oz to shoot her.
She's daring him to do it because she doesn't think he's got the stones to do it.
Oh, yeah, because she's just waiting and waiting, and then all of a sudden you see a light flash. And it's the Gotham City PD.
Yep.
Because Councilman Haiti called it in. And they have now arrested Sophia.
And they've taken her back to the one place she hates the most.
Yep. Arkham. Yeah. Brilliant. Absolutely brilliant.
Yep.
So Oz now gets to go back and celebrate with Vic. And when he goes to the hospital,
he brings a bottle. He sneaks a bottle of whiskey in.
Yep.
And goes, hey, Ma, let's celebrate. He turns the news on. He goes, I did that. I set this all up. It was me. You should be proud of me, Mom.
Yep.
Only to realize she's non-responsive.
Right.
Vic and Oz stand there. The nurse hears the commotion, comes in, and tries to explain to him what's going on. That basically she suffered a stroke. She's in a non-responsive vegetative state, and they don't know if she'll ever come out of it.
Yeah. Vic is shocked. Oz cannot handle this.
Oz freaks the fuck out, and understandably so.
Oh, yeah, completely, because his whole mission was to impress his mom.
Yep.
I mean, as twisted as it sounds, that was the only goal he ever had, is he wanted to make her proud and give her the life that she wanted.
Yeah, because she told him early in the show, or early in his life, like, I want to live in a penthouse overlooking the entire city, and I want to rub elbows with the rich. And that's all he wanted to do.
Yeah. So he now knows that she'll never be able to tell him that she was proud or any complimentary things.
Right.
And the last words he's ever going to know is, I hate you. So it's a weird moment to see, but Farrell really accelerates at this moment because you can see just the delusional feel that like, no, everybody's wrong. I still win. I'm still the champ.
And it's fantastic acting because the scene cuts from the end of the scene in the hospital where he's screaming at the nurse, get the doctor, get the doctor, get the doctor, at the top of his lungs. Hard cuts to him and Vic sitting in a park on a bench someplace. Halfway, 3/4 of the way through the bottle of whiskey, just absolutely defeated and dejected.
Yeah. And you see that they're trying to figure out what's going on next.
And Vic is trying to play the part of like the good friend and like, hey, things are kind of shitty right now. So, sorry your mom's in the state she's in, but look at what we did. Look at all we did. Look at all we accomplished.
Yeah. But then he does something which
methinks he doth speak too much.
Well, he doesn't know the temp in the room.
No, he doesn't.
So Oz has been drinking.
Mm-hmm.
And Vic keeps referring to themselves as family.
Uh-huh.
And now Oz has lost his family. Oz doesn't want a family. He just wants his mom.
Mm-hmm.
And at this moment, Oz makes the decision that I thought was going to be coming regardless.
Right.
Because that's just how the Penguin is.
Mm-hmm.
He winds up putting his arm around Vic.
Yep.
Bringing him close and saying, this is where our road ends.
Uh-huh.
And Vic is shocked and doesn't know what to do. And at this
pleading
point,
with him
because at this point, Oz starts choking him to death.
Because in the same vein, Vic sees Oz as the only family he's got left.
Yeah, he sees,
or at least he's the only person that Vic thinks cares about him.
This so echoes A Bronx Tale. It's not funny.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, except for the ending. With the liberty there, but
yeah.
This is A Bronx Tale to a T. A T.
And remember how I said earlier there was another loose end they had to take care of? This is the other loose end that, okay, yeah, Sophia is locked up in Arkham. The rest of the family is in jail or dead or whatever they are, or under his thumb. The one person who could flip this all on him and turn the tables, if should things ever come to, is Vic. Vic's been there since the beginning of this whole process and the beginning of this whole journey this season. He's been there right to the end. If anybody can sell Oz upriver and screw it all up for him, it's Vic.
Yep.
And now that thing is gone, and they can't even identify the body because which I think is part of the reason why they did the shot where he takes the driver's license and throws it into the river.
Yep. Vic, unfortunately, was somebody who knew too much.
Mm-hmm.
And at the end of the day, Oz doesn't want anybody bringing down his kingdom.
Yep.
So he winds up killing Vic. And the most shocking moment of the series for a lot, I would say this is up there with the Negan kills Glenn in The Walking Dead
I can see
for the shock factor that a
Yeah.
lot of people had. But you have to. But this all goes back to how ruthless the Penguin is.
This adaptation, yeah.
Oh, but it's perfect. I mean,
Yeah.
this is what you see in the comics all the time. Like I said, I alluded to the series by Tom King and Javier de la Torre. If you read that series, you see what he does to his own kids. A little spoiler report. Just gonna put it out there. So I'm just saying there is no love for Oswald Cobblepot and anyone else. It is him and him alone because his justification, his family makes you weak. And that's something that he's lived with most of his life.
Well, and especially you think about just the journey he's been on. And even if you want to include, chronological from the time he was a kid and the stuff with his brother up until now, what has it really gotten him?
Yeah.
When his ultimate goal is to be, the kingpin or ruler of Gotham, whatever, job title you want to give him, he's not really any closer to his goal. He's got a good chunk and he's got a good foothold, but it's not firm. As we know in any comic book adaptation, whenever there's a change in crime families or crime lords, there's always a power vacuum and there's always a battle that takes place, but he hasn't come out the victor in full.
No, but he's on the right way though.
Oh,
because you know what? He's won over the city and he's done everything he wanted to do.
Yeah.
He wanted to be the hero and the guy on the block that everybody looked up to.
Yeah.
And that's what he is. So he did win, but he has nobody to share this win with. Meanwhile, as you alluded to, Sophia is back at Arkham.
Yep.
And Dr. Rush is back.
But yeah, he's thrilled she's there.
Yeah, you gotta applaud his loyalty.
Yeah.
He's the only one who's ever been that loyal to Sophia.
And he's the only one left loyal to Sophia.
And he hands her a letter from her half-sister.
Uh-huh.
And, Pat, who is that half-sister?
Selena Kyle.
Yep. So the Catwoman is going to be involved with Sophia. Now, what we don't know.
I'll say, remember the part in my spoiler-free statement where I said I sat up and said, holy shit?
Yeah,
that was this part.
I think we all forgot about that moment that in this universe, Selena was a member of the Falcone family.
I did.
Yeah.
I haven't seen the movie in a while, so yeah, I did.
Yeah.
I'm going to rectify that this weekend.
Yeah. But we do see the fallout here as Oz is now in a penthouse overlooking the city.
And I want to know the side, or because it's like a Flatiron building type shape thing. You couldn't fully see it because not all the lights were lit, but the sign letters on the side of the building spelled out lounge.
Yeah.
So it's his new Iceberg Lounge.
It's Iceberg Lounge 2.0. Yeah, no, a great call because I saw that too. And I'm like, we're setting up shop. And this is
we are.
Good.
Yeah, we are.
And so in this new building that he's acquired, we do see Frances is there.
Yeah.
And, I mean, still, unfortunately, in her state.
She's quote-unquote she's got a heart rate.
Yeah.
I think there's part of her that's still there, or still at least aware of what's going on because Oz shows up and he basically says, hey, look, Ma, I got you everything you wanted. We're in a penthouse. You're overlooking the city, and we did it, Ma. And then there's a shot of him walking away, and then it cuts to her with I think he was in the background, but it was like out of focus. But the focus was on her face, and you saw a single tear running down her face.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So we don't know if that's fear or enjoyment.
I'm going with fear.
I think it's fear because she, I think, realizes what is now
the
loose
quote
in
unquote
Gotham.
the quote unquote devil has won.
Yeah, the devil did win in this situation. So Oz goes and meets up with a familiar friend, albeit in a very creepy situation,
to say the least.
Because we see that Eve, his
friend, we'll call it, leave it at that, friend.
We'll just say friend. Yeah,
you can Google search and find out what she is on your own.
Yeah, Carmen Ejago comes back in the role as Eve and is dressed up as Oz's mom.
In the same damn clothes.
In the same clothes, the same setup as young Oz danced with her at the lounge years ago. And Oz is literally reliving the moment saying, I did it, Ma, I did it. And that's literally how it ends as the camera pans, though.
Yeah, well, with her saying, basically praising him as a mother would.
Yeah.
Saying everything he wants her to say. And she, at the end, right before the camera zooms out of the room, she says, now there's no one to stand in your way.
Mm-hmm.
There was a pause, and then I said, well, not quite.
I think we all did.
Not quite. And then the camera pans out, it zooms out, and we see the bat signal light up in the sky.
Yep, and that's how it all ends.
Fantastic episode.
Amazing episode. I mean, you want to talk about acting performances, everybody on this episode really brought it. And I thought that they wanted to put a big exclamation point on this universe and leave the door open for season 2 if they want to go back to it, because now they're in a very unique spot. I don't think originally Matt Reeves and company had plans for doing another season of The Penguin.
It's hard to say. I know they're on board with it now.
Oh, now, yes.
Because there was an article that came out from the Hollywood Reporter. They did an interview with Colin Farrell. And he did say, quote, if there's a great idea for season 2 and the writing was really muscular and as strong or stronger on the page than it was the first season, of course I would want to do it, close quote. And he went on to say that the fan response is what helped evolve his mindset.
So you never know where we're going from here. The only thing we know for certain, Batman 2, tentatively titled, is due out in 2026. After that, we've heard rumors of other spin-off shows. The Arkham one is still on the table, I guess. There's been now some rumors of Two-Face, which I would love to see. Give me a Harvey Dent series.
I would love to see that.
Yeah, just courtroom drama. Just give me that.
Yeah.
I'm in. Or you never know if they're going to go to a different villain. I don't think...
I got a hunch.
Who do you think?
Clayface.
See, Clayface would be interesting.
You want to know why? Well, I was looking at the cast list on the Wikipedia page. What is it? Penguin's friend Eve. You want to know what her last name is? Carlo.
Well,
you know what Clayface's government name is? Basil Carlo.
I mean...
Could be a sister. Could be a cousin.
Could be a solid Easter egg.
Yeah, that could just be an Easter egg. Yeah.
I mean, I think they're leaving enough room that if they want to go that route, they could.
Yeah,
I mean,
can see it.
who knows? She could wind up being Clayface.
She could. I mean, I think the more likely possibility is because the other thing too we know, I know a lot of people were speculating that Penguin is going to be the main villain for Batman too. I don't think that's going to be. I don't think that's going to be the case because Colin Farrell has said himself, although admittedly he hasn't. He said in the interview on the Hollywood Reporter, they asked, "quote What's the latest on the Batman Part 2?" Farrell replied, and I quote, "I haven't even read a script yet." Close quote. And he did say that, and they asked him, "Is there anything you would like to eventually experience with this character?" There's a whole long-winded answer, but he did say, eventually, partway through his answer, quote, "So how is that taken up in the second film? I was told I have 5 or 6 scenes. I don't have any hopes or expectations. I'm really an open book, and that's the way I get excited by shit or not. I think sometimes actors, if they have a career that has a certain length of time, they sometimes get to make too many decisions, which isn't to say I won't push back or argue or fight in Oz's corner. I do believe I know him better than anyone now," close quote. So if this is true and that at least tentatively right now, Penguin's only in 5 or 6 scenes in the Batman Part 2, that doesn't tell me he's the villain.
Yeah.
He's just going to be a feature.
And that's how he plays best, though.
Yeah. You know what I'm betting happen? I think we're onto something with the Two-Face aspect of things because I think he'll show up partway through the movie because you look at where things are at now. Crimes run rampant. It's the continued fallout, from the end of the first Batman movie into this series. We don't know how much time has passed during this series. I'm sure we'll find out at some point. I'm sure Matt Reeves or somebody from DC, James Gunn, or somebody will say in an interview how much time has passed from the end of the movie to the end of this series. But we're still dealing with, the fallout of the bombing and the Riddler and everything else. And now everything with the crime families and the crime war going on and the crimes running rampant. And let's face it, Gotham PD is effectively non-existent for the entirety of this series.
Oh, completely.
They were, dropping the ball. So I wouldn't doubt we see the rise of Harvey Dent. That by the time some time has passed in between the end of the series and the Batman Part 2, and now we see that like, hey, whatever it is, 6 months, 9 months, a year, a couple of years, and now Harvey Dent is the district attorney for Gotham City, and he's trying to root out the thing, and then we get into the classic Two-Face story.
Yeah, I mean, you could definitely happen with that. I mean, I wouldn't doubt that he is trying to be the one that takes down the Penguin, which that could be a whole different ball of wax there.
Because Penguin's certainly on the PD's radar. They know who he is.
Yeah, so there's a lot of different directions they can go with this, but that's going to be the fun part of this. But for where this series succeeded at, it reignited a fan base that has been quiet for 2 years.
Well, and arguably, a fan base for Batman that has been quiet since I'd argue the Christopher Nolan films. Because I don't think the fan base ever really got that excited for the Zack Snyder stuff.
No, I was going to say, I mean, the Snyderverse is a whole different ball.
The Snyderverse is what it is. Like, Batman was there. Batman was a feature in it. But was he ever the main attraction? For a movie, if you want to argue it,
you could argue, but
not really.
No, I mean, I think that with seeing Matt Reeves' vision very popularly accepted amongst the fans.
Yeah.
I mean, for everybody that's waiting to see more, I think this is a nice stop along the way. But now it's opened up the opportunity that they want to go back down this road with a villain or another character. They can do it. And I think that is the big win from here. And also, it really brought the Penguin to his truest form. And at the end of the day, you really get the gist of what he has always been.
Right.
A cold-hearted, manipulative SOB.
Yeah.
But it works on so many different levels. And that is the beauty of the show. Final thoughts, Pat?
Fantastic episode, fantastic season. I hate that we have to wait a while to see anything from this universe because filming reportedly for the Batman Part 2, Batman 2, whatever they want to call the film, is not going to start until early next year. So we're still at least 2+ months out from any of that. So we're going to be looking at least another. It's not going to come out until at least 2026 before that. And we're not going to get anything else in terms of series or whatnot from this universe. So it's going to be a quiet few years until we get this. But, man, when it comes back, I am so amped up.
I think they're playing this very smart.
Absolutely.
And I think that this shows this universe definitely is still very popular amongst fans. And this is winning over more each and every day. So when the Batman 2 comes back out, That's going to be some real fun times in Gotham City and beyond. In the meantime, though, hit us up on that hashtag ODPHpod. HBO's The Penguin has just wrapped up. Give us your thoughts on the season finale and the series overall. Did you love it? Did you hate it? And why? Let's talk about it, shall we? But first, we're going to get a quick break. We'll be right back.
You ever wondered what comics Mark from Vale is into? What Zach from Left Behind's favorite MCU movies are? Well, Metalcore Nerds is the show for you. My name is Sean Mott, and here at Metalcore Nerds, we cover the latest things in pop culture, whether it be Star Wars, Marvel, DC, AEW, and everything else in between. You can listen to the show every Monday on Adobe How at 7 p.m. Eastern, or find it anywhere you find podcasts after it debuts on the radio station.
The content you are listening to is part of the Nerd Initiative Podcast Network. For more info about the home of pop culture positivity, be sure to check out nerdinitiative.com.
Coming back for another segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast, and we're keeping the DC talk rolling.
The train is rolling this week.
Yeah, a lot of strong content coming from DC Comics, television, and live action. So,
yeah.
And one of our favorite shows definitely was making an impression on its way to the finish line. It's scary to think there's only now 3 episodes left.
Yes.
But the adventures of the Kents and their return to Smallville has definitely taken a lot of twists and turns in the CW's Superman and Lois.
Mm-hmm.
Tyler Hoechlin coming back as Superman, Elizabeth Tulloch playing Lois Lane, and their 2 sons have really been captivating as their trek from Metropolis to Smallville never meant that they were going to be escaping from their problems because the superhero world of Superman has followed them to Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
It's been a wild season thus far as season 4 has introduced Doomsday into the world.
Yeah.
And the crazy storyline going on here. But we have now come to a different point of the legacy of Superman, and we are going to be talking about the latest episode entitled A Regular Guy.
Mm-hmm.
Same deal as before, folks. So, Pad, what is your spoiler-free statement on this latest episode?
So I would say for this episode, when I say the times here, I'm including the commercial times and whatnot because that's just easier in my head. The first 45 minutes of this episode, was the previous episode, episode 6, which was When the Lights Come On, fucking incredible episode, just start to finish, top to bottom, chef's kiss perfection. Mm-hmm. One of my favorite episodes they've done of this entire series. So I had high expectations coming into this one, especially given the way the last one ended. Then I'm like, ooh, we're going some places. Like, we're going to really deep into some of the classic Superman stuff we all know and love.
Yeah.
We came into this, and I came in with, I don't want to say like over the moon expectations, but they were elevated. The first 45 minutes of this episode, was okay. Wasn't really winning me over, wasn't really selling me. I was almost calling it filler for a good portion of it. And then you got to the last 15 minutes of the episode, and I don't remember when I thought this, but I had this thought during part of the episode where I went, are we doing what I think we're doing? And that was confirmed by the end of the episode, in which I went, okay, it was a little bit of a meandering, long way to get there, but this episode ended up being pretty good.
Yeah, I have to agree. This episode started very, very slow.
Mm-hmm.
To a degree that I almost turned it off because it just wasn't going anywhere.
That's fair.
However, though, I'm such a big fan of the show, I do stick around. And once a key moment happened in a diner, that's when I said, okay, I think I know where they're going. This should be good.
Mm-hmm.
And like Pat alluded to, the back end of this episode really is what sold it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of moving parts happening with 3 episodes left, like I alluded to. But if this is any indication, I think we're in for a very, very strong finish.
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, Pat, in 3, 2, 1, let's discuss, shall we?
Like I said, first 45 minutes of this episode, it was okay. A little bit. I wasn't sure what the hell we were doing for this episode, but then once we got to the diner scene, from the diner scene all the way to the end, was when business started to pick up and where it really took off and really got good. And I'm like, okay, you know what? In the long run, this episode now makes sense, and I enjoyed it.
See, the one thing we have to remember with this is they're doing a lot because it's the final season,
right?
And trying to balance on Doomsday and Lex Luthor and how they put point A to point B, it's becoming a little difficult because now they have to shift gears.
Plus, with the entire cast outside of the immediate family getting relegated to recurring characters,
Right.
doesn't help.
Yeah, so it is tough to really capture the magic, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
So I think now that they've shifted gears
Yeah.
away from
Yeah.
Doomsday, they have really tried focusing back on the matchup we've all been waiting for, and that's Lex versus Superman.
Mm-hmm.
And we had the great standoff outside the hotel
Oh my God.
last episode, and
Yeah.
that's where things really picked up business, and things, went a little awry for Luthor. But he's still messing around with the Kents nevertheless, and the biggest thing is now he's leaked out Clark's identity to the residents of Smallville.
Mm-hmm.
And more people are finding out that
They're putting two and two together.
Well, it's now becoming clearly obvious.
Yeah.
So as Clark is trying to sway people not to think that, because for him, that's the only sense of normalcy he has is when he puts on glasses.
It's the only thing he's known for his entire life.
Yeah. This is becoming kind of the running joke on the show because he has to keep convincing people, no, I'm not Superman. I don't know why you would think that, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Even to the point where his sons are now in the mix
Mm-hmm.
because of their offer to come back and play football.
The head coach has approached them. Now, mind you, they're banned from playing football because of the whole taking drugs thing that happened a couple seasons ago.
Yeah.
The head coach approaches them while they're at the diner having lunch, breakfast, whatever it is, and goes, "Hey guys, how you doing? I got a proposition for you. How would you guys like to join?" Because he knows, or at least suspects, what's been going on, and goes, "Hey, how'd you guys like to be on the football team again this year?" And they're both like, "We're banned for life. Like we can't play." "Oh, that's a small matter. Let me worry about it. Let me focus about that. Why don't you guys take me up on my offer? Think about it. I think all the scholarship offers, the girls, the parties you could go to." Like he's really selling this on him, even to the point where he recommends one of them watch Varsity Blues.
Yeah, that was a little wild.
Yeah.
That was slightly wild. I'm not going to lie about it. But
Wasn't expecting that.
Great throwback, though. So they're dealing with that drama, and I mean, that's keeping the boys at bay because at the end of the day, there's only so much you can do.
Right.
And it goes back to, once again, Clark has to lie about being Superman and people with powers,
Yep.
even though the one son of the mother who's outraged is insisting he is. And I mean, I don't want to say they do this too often in this episode, but I think they did.
It was dragged out maybe a little too long.
It was like the comment of Coulson saying, "Did you know about the incident in New York?"
Yeah.
Like I got those
Yeah.
vibes.
Yeah.
And I was
I mean, it made sense for some of the story aspects of like, I got it when he was at, the local drugstore, the corner drugstore, and he was buying stuff because, he gets told by Lois at one point, they're like, "Oh, you've got a gray patch in your hair," and he goes and buys Just for Men at the local corner drugstore.
yeah.
And all the meanwhile, he's standing there. The girl at the counter suspects he's Superman, but she doesn't say anything.
Yeah.
And then the TV's on in the background, and it's the plane falling out of the sky. It's near Metropolis, and he sees it. She sees it. She looks at him, and she, without saying a word, goes, "You're gonna save that? You're gonna save that?" Like, like she's calling him out on it,
Yeah.
basically, without saying anything. And he's like, "Oh, I forgot my wallet in my car." And he goes out, saves the thing, comes back, and she's like, "How did you get back here that fast?" He's like, "Oh, I only went out to my car." So, like in that instance, it worked well for painting the picture of, okay, most of the town at least suspects at this point he's Superman.
Yeah.
But the other stuff was way too dragged out.
Yeah, it was way too drawn out, even to the point where they finally went back to a side plot. Because honestly, and like you touched upon too, most of the cast now is recurring characters.
Yep.
So when we deal with Chrissy and Kyle's future
Which we haven't seen them
all season.
all season. We're 7 episodes in, and this is the first time we're seeing them.
Yeah, this is the first time we've seen Sophia Hammock
Yeah.
playing Chrissy.
Yeah.
Sorry, apologize for the name mess up. And then Eric Valdez playing Kyle.
Yeah.
Like I say, Hasmick and Valdez have been great characters, and
Yeah.
especially with their romance. But we have nothing to really get back invested with. It was like, oh, great to see you.
Yeah.
And now we have a plot that we're supposed to care about because all of a sudden they're broke.
Yep.
And
Well, they're not broke. They just don't have enough money.
no, because they're trying to pay for a house because obviously they have a child.
They got a kid coming where they're living, doesn't exactly have a yard for the kid to play in.
Yeah, so there's a lot of moving parts here.
Yeah.
And ultimately boils down to Lois is going to buy Chrissy's share of the Gazette.
Which is after Chrissy goes and tries to sell her share to a potential buyer from, I guess, a previous season. I forgot about that whole thing. And Lois is upset about it, and she's a little offended by it. Like, listen, we promised if we would do anything, like we would consult the other, blah, blah, blah. Chrissy ends up not going through with it because she did some investigative journalism and digging and come to find out that the company that was making the offer for her portion of the Smallville Gazette was a shell corporation for who?
Lex.
Bingo.
Yeah. So, I mean, and that makes the most sense. So
Yeah.
Lois is using her late father's inheritance to make sure that, okay, we can still work together and everything's going to be fine at the paper. So this feel-good moment in the diner is quickly interrupted because we see a ghost from the past.
Yeah.
Season 1.
Forgot about him.
Oh, completely. It took me a second to think about who this is.
Yeah.
Because it's Emmett, the father of Candace, who is Jonathan's girlfriend
At the time.
At the time in the first season, and obviously
Yep.
he was not too friendly with the Kents.
And Clark, in return, didn't exactly hold back.
No, he kind of let loose. So now Emmett is returning the favor because in the diner, he whips out his gun and shoots. And at this moment, they do this. This is where the episode picks up. By the way.
Yes.
They do this big slow motion camera shot where the bullet's firing at Clark, and Clark has to make the decision in time, and he stares at Lois and he stares at everybody else in the diner. And
because everyone in the diner is ducking for cover.
Yeah. So he comes to a resolution like, I have no choice.
And this is after he spent, what would you say, probably 3-4 minutes trying to just negotiate and talk him down and talk him out of it. Like, it's not a quick, like, hey, don't do this. No. Like, he tries to get out of it, but he comes to the realization, I'm backed into a corner, and even I don't have a way out of this.
Yeah, so he winds up doing the iconic shirt rip, suits underneath, bullet bounces off. He's standing in the middle of the diner, and everybody's now in awe that was not sold before that he is Superman. The Superman's been there the
Which
entire time.
I think it was when this whole thing and Emmett walked in that I started to pick up. I'm like, wait a minute. Are we doing the storyline where he reveals his identity? Now, in the comics, it was to the entire fucking planet, but for here, it's just Smallville.
Right, but that's where I thought they were going too. I was like, okay, this is a nice touch. Like, I don't know how this is ultimately going to play, but then again,
it's the final season.
It's the final season. So
we're in the last 4 episodes. We ain't got nothing left to play with.
Well, I mean, we've talked about this in the past with the Arrowverse.
Yes.
And if you know this is it, go out swinging.
Yep.
And this is what they did, because now they had the moment where Emmett gets arrested by Kyle. The Kents are standing in the diner. They find out that Lex is now telling everybody. So it wasn't Candace, as they thought. Which, I mean, they're just trying to tie back to the boys to give them some side plot.
Yeah.
But there really isn't that much going around. So Clark comes to the realization he's got to go public with it. And they come into agreement, too, because they say, like, nothing about her family is normal.
Because the issue they run into throughout this episode is Clark's got a list. I think it's a mental list in his head of everybody they've got to take care of to, like, disprove the theory with the superpowers. At one point, he goes to the gym teacher, the football captain, or the football coach, and it's like, listen, they don't have powers, I don't have powers. He, quote unquote, stubs his toe or stubs something or does something where he's like, ow. He does the Peter Griffin, rubbing his knee, and he goes, oh, okay. And Clark is just like, yep, check that name off the list. He doesn't believe I'm Superman. And I'm like, are you this naive?
Yeah.
And every time he crosses a name off the list, like 2 more get added onto it.
Yeah, it's wild to see, but it makes sense, and it's something he tries doing because, like I say, that's been his security blanket. He so desperately wants to be human.
Yep.
But he can't.
Yep.
So he comes to the realization with the family, like they all decide, like, listen, we're done hiding. We're done.
Yep.
Let's make our stand here
Yep.
right now. So the next day, he goes and is interviewed by Janet Olsen from the Daily Planet. And this is where he goes public with this. And this ties back to something that they were shadowing in here and there throughout the episode, and that was his time with the Daily Planet and one Jimmy Olsen.
Yeah.
Which that was super fun to see.
I'd like to see that, yeah.
Well, like I say, they really have not tied too much back to Metropolis. So Douglas Smith, who played Jimmy, very cool scenes to see because, it's just their dynamic together of Clark and Jimmy.
We did get to see the Flesher costume again in this episode.
Yeah, we did.
Oh,
that was dope.
loved it.
Yeah, so even when Jimmy suspects it, like I say.
Jimmy all but knows it at this point.
Yeah, Jimmy had it all figured out. So once he had it figured out, it really kind of spiraled into Clark, when you can finally tell me. And then he really cuts ties because he's like, you're too close and you're going to get hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And I can't have you do that.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of this episode, he reconciles with Jimmy.
Yep.
And literally that's how it wraps up. Great ending. Like,
fantastic.
yeah, I mean, like I say, I think for where we got in this episode, it was pretty, standard.
Yeah.
I guess at the beginning.
It was if you watch this series up to this point, up until the last 15 minutes, it felt like a standard filler episode for this show.
Yeah.
But then the last 15 minutes kicked in and we're like, oh, we're actually moving along with the plot somewhat.
Yeah. And that's why, like, when you are looking for a great interpretation of Superman, I understand why they're canceling this now.
Yeah.
Because if this goes head to head with that Superman film,
yeah.
And let's say hypothetically that film doesn't deliver.
Well, yeah.
Like, there's going to be a lot of people going, well, why didn't we just do this live
It's also
action?
not the first time WB has canned or canceled an aspect of a television show they have because of movies coming out.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not forget that I forget what season it was, but there was an early season of Arrow where we had a Suicide Squad.
Oh, it's season 2.
It's season 2 of Arrow. Had a Suicide Squad that just then that whole plot line got axed because, well, the movie was coming.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing I want to point out with this episode too is it was brought up. The reason Emmett showed up was because he started hearing rumblings of what was going on with Clark and Clark's identity, quote unquote. Because who is he prison buddies with? Lex Luthor.
Mm-hmm.
So Lex further pulling the strings in the background. Even though Lex 0 minutes of screen time this episode.
No, well, except for the teaser trailer for what's coming.
Well,
next.
yeah, but that's after the credits roll.
Yeah, but how they're setting that up, that's going to be interesting.
Well, I mean, once you got to the end of episode 6 and they talked about having a killer suit, if you've seen any of the cartoons in the last 20 years, or you've read any of the comics, you know what's going to come.
Mm-hmm.
It just depends on the color coordination.
Yeah,
I'm excited for it.
I'm waiting to see that green.
Because you know what the next episode is titled?
Sharp Dressed Man.
You know who's directing that episode? Cudlitz.
Yep.
Oh boy.
Get ready for another fantastic showdown because I think they're going to pull out some stops here because
you know who's writing the episode? Creators of the show.
Yeah. They're I'm telling you, they're going swinging for the fences, and that's what they need to do with this. But final thoughts, Pat?
Great episode. It ended up being a great episode. I dug what they did, and I dig that they're swinging for the fences because the whole Superman reveals his identity thing is a fairly recent story, like within the last 2-3 years. So it's one that I don't think a lot of people know, and I think it's a good one for them to explore because it's something new. It's something different. And it adds an interesting wrinkle to this show because that's what's made the show so great is it doesn't follow the typical paths you would expect for a Superman television show, and that's what's made it work.
Fully agree. I think for where they got to the ending, like that was the big payoff.
Yeah.
And now with 3 episodes left, like we've alluded to, they're pulling out all the stops, and
Yes,
they're going for big moments. And this was a huge one because when Superman now goes public, the world perception of him has changed, and now this starts a whole new domino effect that I don't think he's ready for. But we as the viewers cannot wait to see play out.
Right.
That said, hit us up on that hashtag ODPH Pod, episode 7 of season 4 of Superman and Lois on the CW, entitled Regular Guy. Let's talk about it, shall we? Well, let's get that last breakout. We'll be right back.
Hey, this is Scott Snyder, and you better listen to the ODPH podcast, or I'm coming for you, and Batman is coming for you.
Coming back for the final segment on this edition of the ODPH podcast. Pad, what you got?
Got a couple things to talk about. First of which is some Marvel news because we did get some information and some trailers from the fine folks over at Marvel.
Yes, we did.
They had D23 Brazil go down over the weekend. We got a couple trailers that came out of that. The first of which is a trailer for the upcoming 3rd and final season of the smash hit from Marvel Animation, What If?
Yeah, this one definitely teased a lot, going in a lot of different directions. Not really a clear-cut path per se like we've seen in other seasons where it's all kind of tied together. But I think they nailed a couple key moments, especially, I guess it's a minor spoiler, but then again, we don't know because it's What If.
Yeah.
Storm and Mjolnir.
Uh-huh.
That she is the goddess of thunder. Like, let's go.
Uh-huh.
And then to see some of the other familiar faces come in, I think I'm expecting big things for this one. How it ties into the greater MCU is anybody's dream.
Yep. All we know is it's releasing on December 22nd, and it is 8 episodes that drop daily. So it's not weekly. It's daily.
Yeah.
So, and it'll take about a week and it'll be all over. But hey, it's a nice Christmas present from the fine folks over at Marvel. Then we got a new trailer for the upcoming film that is releasing in theaters on February 14th. And that is Captain America: Brave New World.
This looks incredible.
Good God, this has got Winter Soldier vibes, and I'm here for it.
I love the conspiracy angle. They're doing Anthony Mackie reprising his role as Sam Wilson. And we did see a lot more of Harrison Ford's General Thaddeus Ross, a.k.a. Red Hulk, which we did see the full picture of. And I got to admit, he did look good. It did not have the mustache. I was okay.
Yes.
I was very okay with
this
that.
trailer looks amazing. This movie looks amazing. It cannot get here soon enough. Then, lastly, and certainly not leastly, we got a trailer for the upcoming film Thunderbolts, asterisk at the end of that, which is coming out in theaters May 2025. I don't know what the hell this film is going to be, but it looks like a ton of fun. And I think it's officially been confirmed we know who bought Avengers Tower.
Yeah. So Contessa bought it, played by Julia Louis-Dreyfus.
And it, quote, wasn't cheap, but the optics are good.
No, so this is going to be interesting to see how this all plays out, because with the asterisks and they say they can't use that name.
Yep.
I'm wondering if this is all cut, that they try saying they're the Avengers. And that's why they can't use the name, and that's why Thunderbolts is the asterisk.
Could be.
Because obviously this leads me to think they're doing one of two things.
Okay.
One, they're going to actually do Thunderbolts like the comic, like in a variation, which means they're going to be bad guys doing good deeds, trying to redeem themselves. The other is they're really going to make this Dark Avengers, and this is going to be the new co-op group, covert operations that is going to be going and doing bad things with a very bad intent, all with legal clearance. So, but we did see the Sentry is in there. Did not see him in the yellow suit and long hair yet.
Yep.
I'm okay with it. The longer I don't see it, the happier I am. But I will admit, it definitely had that fun Suicide Squad vibe to it.
Yeah. Then the other bit of news we did get out of D23 Brazil is not Marvel related, but it is Star Wars related, in that we found out a release date, although it was leaked early from the folks over at Disney Plus.
Yeah.
Got pulled down. If you were up early enough on Saturday morning, you did see when the release date was, but they quickly pulled it down because the panel hadn't happened yet. But we did find out officially at the D23 Expo in Brazil that season 2 of the series Andor is going to premiere on April 22nd, 2025. Of course, we do know that this is going to be the final season. This is going to lead up to some point at the beginning of Rogue One. I don't know how they're going to do it, but they'll get there somehow. We did find out back in August at the D23 Expo in Anaheim, California, Ben Mendelsohn is reprising his role as the villain Orson Krennic. We do know that K2SO is coming back this season. That was announced when the show was announced, but they said it's not coming until season 2. Well, we're in season 2, so K2SO will be back this season. And also, we did find out that, quote, this second part will follow Cassian over the period of 4 years as he grows into the hero we see make the ultimate sacrifice in Rogue One, according to the main actor there, Diego Luna.
Yeah, this one, I mean, obviously, we do know how this is ultimately going to end.
Yep.
But I will say that season 1 did not start off well.
No.
Very much a snooze fest. Got way better as the season went on, but it was a sluggish road to get there. I'm expecting them to hit the ground running with this beginning season 2, and obviously we have to lead into Rogue One, so you do have a little window you can mess around with. I'm just hoping we get something a little better out of the gate to start things with.
This is true. Then in some Netflix news, we did find out that there's going to be a rather famous name coming to season 2 of Wednesday, which is, of course, the Addams Family show that is on Netflix. If you have not seen season 1, you should watch season 1. Season 1 is incredible. I don't remember how many episodes it is, but it's a quick watch. But we did find out that the one, the only Lady Gaga is going to be joining season 2 in an undisclosed role. Now, if you were on the internet when season 1 dropped, this makes a lot of sense because the dance scene that takes place in one of the episodes of season 1 was mixed together with the Lady Gaga hit Bloody Mary from 2011. And it's not the song that plays in the scene, but damn it works.
Yeah.
So, and the Lady Gaga even acknowledged this whole thing that was going on, this whole meme, I guess you could say. But yeah, so Lady Gaga is going to be playing a role. We don't know what role that is, how long it is, or its size, but she's going to be in it in some capacity. And I think that's a massive win for the show.
Huge win. Absolutely huge win.
Then in some other TV news that came as a little bit of a surprise, and initially I was like, yay! And then I found out who's working on it, and I
Let's
went,
talk about this.
I went, oh, motherfucker. So the folks over at Amazon MGM Studios are working on a Mass Effect television series, which I went, yay! And then I read the article further. So the article on Variety.com reads, and I quote, a Mass Effect TV series is officially in development at Amazon MGM Studios. Variety has learned exclusively. Daniel Casey is set to write and executive produce the adaptation. Kareem Zarek will executive produce under his Cedar Tree production banner with Ari Arad. And EA's Michael Gamble also executive producing. Cedar Tree is currently under an overall deal at Amazon MGM Studios. Exact plot details are being kept under wraps. It was previously reported in 2021 that Amazon was in negotiations to develop a Mass Effect TV series, but there have been no updates on the project until now. There had also been various attempts to develop the feature film based on the games, but the project never materialized. The first Mass Effect game launched to rave reviews in 2007. Since then, there have been 3 more games in the main series, with Mass Effect Andromeda debuting in 2017. There have also been multiple mobile games in the franchise, as well as an animated film, novels, comic books, and other media. The story of the first 3 Mass Effect games revolves around Commander Shepard, a human soldier in the 22nd century trying to save humanity from a race of aliens known as the Reapers. Andromeda moved the games much further into the future with a new protagonist, with the 5th game also in the works. The franchise is developed by BioWare and are now published by EA. So the interesting thing, and the part that made me go, wow, motherfucker, is the guy who's going to write and executive produce, Daniel Casey. Most recently, did the screenplay for F9, the Fast Saga. Yeah, he did Fast and Furious 9.
Mm-hmm.
So I went, yay, they're doing a Mass Effect show. Fuck, the guy from Fast and Furious is doing it. So I don't know how I feel about this.
Dinosaurs. Dinosaurs in space. That's all you're getting.
It's entirely possible.
That's all you're getting.
Then lastly, in a bit of fun, anybody got $3 million burning a hole in your pocket? If you do, you can purchase a Batman tumbler, like from the Nolanverse films. No, I'm not kidding. Reading an article from MSN.com. It says, quote, if you want your own Batmobile, then this could be your chance to get one. Warner Brothers Discovery Global Consumer Products is selling 10 fully functional tumbler Batmobiles from Christopher Nolan's Dark Knight trilogy. This limited edition release is part of the Wayne Enterprises Experience, a luxury brand inspired by the Batman universe. The tumbler Batmobiles are not street legal, but are fully functional. These are built around a custom steel tube frame and house a powerful 6.2-liter LS3 V8 engine, delivering 525 horsepower and 486 pound-per-feet of torque. There's a whole bunch of other stuff about, it's an automatic transmission with paddle shifters, bodywork, and blah, blah, blah. Article goes on to say, to add to the cinematic experience, the tumblers are also equipped with features like imitation gun turrets, a smoke screen, and a non-flammable jet engine. The interiors can also be customized. However, this level of authenticity and engineering comes at a cost. Each tumbler Batmobile is priced at $2.99 million. There is a website where you can visit, and then the article says the Post WB is selling functional tumbler Batmobile from Nolanverse Dark Knight trilogy for $2.99 million. Appeared first on Techno Baboy. So I don't know about you, but hey, if anybody's got $3 million laying around, we'd like to talk to you.
We might have to restart the Patreon for that.
Yeah, we do.
I'm thinking that might be a necessary requirement, because that would just be fun to drive around. Imagine just going down to New York Comic Con with that.
You can't. It's not street legal. But you know what's going to happen with one of these goddamn things?
Tomatoes. We'll figure something out.
No, you know what's going to happen with one of these things? Somebody's going to buy one. Well, here's one. Jay Leno's going to buy one.
Yeah.
That's pretty much a guarantee. I wouldn't be surprised if perhaps maybe Jeff Dunham, the ventriloquist, buys one, because I know he's got a Adam West Batman Batmobile working that can drive down the road, and I think he's also got one of the ones from the first 2 movies, Batman 89, Batman Returns. I think he's got one of those. Dunham is a big Batman guy, so I wouldn't be surprised if Jeff Dunham gets one. But no, you know what's going to happen. There's going to be some Yahoo who buys this thing, completely ignores the fact that it's not street legal, and it's going to end up on like the evening news someplace at like the end of the broadcast, where like it went driving down the streets of Los Angeles or something and crashed into like a building. That's what's going to happen.
No, see,
mark the tape.
Like I said, we'll figure something out. Like I say, we'll talk to Michael over at Nerd Initiative. We'll start piecing this together. I mean, if we have to do some streams, we'll do some streams. Like, listen, we just
I'll start a GoFundMe.
Yeah, I was gonna say we'll just roll up to New York Comic Con in this. Just drive around.
Yeah.
Have the music blaring because you have to have the music blaring
That's
as
true.
you're driving around.
That's true.
Like I say, the Batman theme. Like, if we're gonna make this happen, I'm putting this out into the world.
Yeah.
Speaking of cons and Comic Cons, is New Comic Book Day.
It is.
Let's talk about it.
So, things I'm picking up at the comic shop this week, got Action Comics issue number 1075 from the folks over at DC. This is by Mark Waid. You've also got a whole bunch of others working on this because this description reads, quote, join the celebration as the original superhero reaches its 1075th issue. Packed with just as much Superman action as always, nearly a century later. An all-star cast of talent and characters helped ring in this milestone, starting with the continuation of Phantoms by Mark Waid and Clayton Henry. Kal-El has traveled back in time to witness the birth of the Phantom Zone, crafted by his own father, Jor-El. Can father and son reconcile without destroying the time stream? And will the Man of Steel acquire what he needs to defeat Aether before his homeworld's fate is sealed? Then, in a special Election Day story, Perry White's mayoral ambitions come to a head, and the future of Metropolis will be forged anew with the outcome. Plus, Supergirl discovers there is more than meets the eye when it comes to the being she's sworn to protect. So, thing with this issue, there is a whole bunch of writers involved with this. This thing I'm seeing is Mark Waid's involved. Mariko Tamaki is also involved. Joshua Williamson's involved. Clayton Henry's one of the artists. Michael Scheffler is another one of the artists. Skylar Patridge is another one of the artists. And then you've got John Bogdanov.
Bogdanova?
Yeah, is one of the other artists. This looks awesome. Look at the cover on this thing.
Well, I was gonna say John is from the '90s era of Superman, so he's classic artist.
There are some classic moments on this cover.
Yeah,
you got
cover looks dope.
You got issue 1 of Action Comics is there where he's got the car. You got the him flying away from Krypton there. You got the kid being there. Supergirl showing up for the first time. Of course, the classic changing in the phone booth. A certain Doomsday dude also in the background. Death of Superman is there. Darkseid's on the cover. Brainiac, the marriage. It looks awesome, and I cannot wait to read this.
Yeah, John Bogdanov, like I say, you have me there. Like, that's taking me back to like when I really was getting into Superman. But that's an all-star lineup. And especially to think about this day and age, I mean, we're living in the thousands.
I know.
For issues.
That's fucking batshit crazy. It's batshit crazy.
It's amazing, though.
Then the 2 issues you should pick up at the comic shop this week because these are the ones I reviewed for Nerd Initiative. First of which is Captain America issue number 15 from J. Michael Straczynski. This one reads, quote, The New Warriors 3, Part 2. J. Michael Straczynski revisits Thor and Spider-Man when Captain America, Spidey, and Thor find themselves drawn to Broxton, Oklahoma. The trio will have to work together to find what's drawn them to the ruined town and site of Thor's greatest shame. But what they may find prove too horrifying for even the greatest of heroes to overcome. So, when you talk Thor, you talk Cap, you talk Spider-Man, you're thinking this is going to be a knockdown, drag-out fight that folks are going to be left standing from. Not a whole lot of fighting in this issue. More of a mystery investigation kind of thing, but it's interesting to see where this is going to go. I think it's got a lot of potential. I think it's very interesting where they might go, and I'm here for it.
JMS's Cap is a very unique read. I like it. I like it, but it's unique.
Yeah.
So definitely something to keep in mind.
Then you've got Amazing Spider-Man issue number 7. It's 61, excuse me. This one is by Joe Kelly.
Oh, the new era begins.
The new era begins. Joe Kelly is the author. Ed McGuinness is the artist. He's also done work on the cover. And this is part 1 of the 8 deaths of Spider-Man. So the description of this reads, The 8 deaths of Spider-Man begin. The world has changed. Dr. Doom is Sorcerer Supreme, but he has no plans to spend his time like his predecessor. Each year, Doctor Strange would use every ounce of his power and experience to save the world from an evil god and his scions. This year, Doom is delegating this task to Spider-Man? The leader of Latveria has given Spider-Man a new magic-powered suit and 8 extra lives with which to save the world? True believer, they won't be enough. So this is absolutely 100% true. Spider-Man is the protector guardian of Earth in this battle against the Scions. He has to win or else. And I'm not going to say what the or else is, but if you know it's Spider-Man, you know the stakes are rather high. I will say the new suit is awesome, although I can't help but wonder it's coming from Dr. Doom. There's probably some strings attached to it. It probably comes with a little bit of fine print that should have been read before he put it on. And where this potentially leads, well, if you know what Marvel has announced in the last 6 months or so in regards to Doctor Doom and the comics, you got an idea where it's going to go, but the journey is going to be part of the fun, and man, I cannot wait to see where this goes. But I will say, after the most recent run, which is great first step forward, great issue to jump in on.
Joe Kelly's a great writer to take over. And he really understands Spidey. So, you know what, this is nothing but win. Very quickly, to tie into One World Under Doom, we did get a press release from our good friends over at Marvel. So, arriving in February, Red Hulk stars Thaddeus Thunderbolt Ross as he once again becomes what he's always hated most, the Red Hulk. This is going to be a spin-off or a new Red Hulk ongoing comic series. So written by Ben Piercy and drawn by Jeff Shaw, following the dark explosive work together on last year's Sabretooth War. So this is time just for perfect timing for the new Cat film, Brave New World.
Right.
So yeah, so there's going to be some stuff going on here, but it's just announced, Red Hulk is getting his own series launch in February.
Makes sense.
Yeah, which like I say, a lot of shaking going on, especially in the One World Under Doom storyline that's going to be dominating Marvel all of 2025.
Oh, yeah.
So if you're not familiar with that, definitely get familiar, and I guarantee the Spider-Man story that you're talking about is going to be one of the most talked about series of the year. All right, so for me, this has been a very, very stacked comic book week. I will say Nerd Initiative did 40 reviews.
Holy crap.
Yeah, this is absolutely insane. But the number one that kicked off everything, and rightfully so, G.I. Joe #1, Joshua Williamson, Tom Riley, Skybound Entertainment, Image Comics. Perfect way to kick off the new era of G.I. Joe. A lot of things happening. So if you're an old school fan, you'll love what they did. If you're new to the franchise, you're gonna immediately fall in love with it. This thing is an absolute monster. Loved everything about this book. So definitely keep an eye out for that. Talking about monsters at the comic shop, I mean, I don't think there's any larger book right now than Absolute Batman.
Probably not.
Scott Snyder, Nick Dragata, doing big things, testing the relationship between Batman and Alfred in this new Absolute world. So definitely, this book is just going a lot of places, and I love the fact that Scott is taking chances with this.
I also love the Batmobile because it's the most fucking ridiculous thing I've ever seen.
But it makes sense. It makes so much sense to the story.
It does.
Like that's the crazy thing about this. So definitely something to keep in mind. Also from DC, Green Lantern #17. So this is the continuation of the Green Lantern Civil Corps storyline going on. A lot of cool things happening here. Green Lantern, I think, has been vastly underrated.
Recently, I would say probably.
Yeah, so this is the perfect time to get back in it because obviously, hey, we're talking DC all in. Speaking of stories that definitely are going to be generating some buzz.
Yeah.
So last year at New York Comic Con, we had heard about a project involving one Tom Hardy.
Okay.
So obviously, you know the actor, most notably for Venom, amongst other films.
Venom, Bane.
Yeah, was teaming up with Scott Snyder and Frank Thierry.
Yes, I totally forgot about it until you mentioned it, but yes, that does jog my memory.
Yep. So Arcbound is the 12-issue series that they're doing, and #1 came out this week.
Oh, okay.
And it's a very cool read. It's very sci-fi,
right?
But it's very cool. It's got a unique vibe to it. It's not for the squeamish, I will say that. There's a lot of wild fighting going on and space violence, I will put out there.
Right.
So, but is one definitely to check out. Dark Horse Comics is publishing this. And like I say, I'm very intrigued where this story is going.
Dark Horse does some good stuff.
Dark Horse does amazing stuff.
Yeah.
Like I say, they're on point. Their Star Wars stuff I know is very close to you, so definitely something to keep in mind out for. Also big week for Transformers #14. So this is the follow-up to the origin of Starscream. Where he is going now in this new Energon universe. So a lot of wild stuff happening with that book. And then last but not least, this is one of my personal favorites from Distillery, Life #3. So Brian Azzarello, Stephanie Phillips, Daniel Ziegel. I apologize if I messed the last name up. This is a unique book because it's from two perspectives. One's an ex-con that is trying to go for one last heist in space. The other is more or less Ted Bundy, and they did something in the future which is like government experimenting.
Right.
So if you get sentenced to hypothetically 30 life sentences, you get sentenced to 100 years per each sentence.
Oh,
so
okay.
you don't die.
Right.
You just live in a decrepit state of your body and all four.
Right.
So the one half of the story is told through that perspective, and that the Casanova killers.
Oh, okay.
And you see how they're now like they're on the same planet and how moving parts are happening. This is just a dope story.
Mm-hmm.
And like I say, Daniel's art is next level about this stuff too. And so like I say, it's a very unique read, and it's one that I like picking up because I like reading different stuff. And
Yeah.
Distillery's got 3 books out this week too, so you definitely want to go check that out. And if you want more recommendations, nerdinitiative.com, because nobody's doing reviews like the Nerd Initiative bullpen. Nobody. That said, that's it for this week. For anything and everything that is the ODPH, you can find it at odphpodcast.com. For the one and only Padawan J.
Thank you.
I'm your host, Ken. Thank you as always for listening to the ODPH podcast. We'll see you next time.